Thank you for those remarks. And thank you, Robert, for starting this forum. It's the 31st forum. It's been an honor to work with Robert over the years and build this out, and I look forward to working with JC going forward. The longevity of this forum has shown the importance of it. It's easy to start something, as the Reverend told me earlier tonight. It's easy to start something. It's really hard to keep it going. This is the 31st one. Some of you have been here, and I've met people from Afghanistan, Africa, all over the world at these forums. The relationships that we build here continue afterwards. And that's one of the reasons why this forum has been so successful. It's not just what we speak about here, it's the thoughts and friendships that we take. So I hope that continues. So many good things were said, and my colleague at the end is going to talk about a state actor. I'm going to take a different perspective. I'm a free market capitalist, and I grew up on Wall Street, and everybody's always telling me what I can't do. And everybody's saying, you should not do that, you can't do this. You know, we live in a very highly regulated market. I've been in a regulated market for over 40 years now. I received one fine because I filled out a form incorrectly in 1991, and I was fined $500. So I think I have a pretty good record after 40 years of trading and in the regulated market. One of the things that I get concerned about is the limiting of financial tools and the limiting of financial assets and the freedom of the market. One of the things that we need to do, specifically to policymakers, is look at the overall picture of economics and say what's working and what's not working. We can't just say, I don't like this asset, and we're going to just eliminate it. Well, if that's the case, Hawalas 3,000 years ago would have never been allowed. Nobody would be trading diamonds, nobody would be trading gold, nobody would be trading oil, but it's fundamental. We have to trade these assets in order to have an economy. So we kind of need a lot of things to take place. Well, at one point, I was the largest gold option trader in the United States, and everybody said I was a criminal. I didn't particularly like that. Then I was an oil trader in Beirut, and they said I was a criminal. I didn't like that. I'm a capitalist. My job is to take assets, sell them, and make some money on it. That's not a bad thing. So we need to look at this a little bit differently. So I was looking at it from a different perspective. We have law enforcement that does a good job. We have prosecutors that do a good job. We have bankers that actually do a good job. We have all of these people working together individually in silos. And we often talk about silos and databases and various things. We have that problem in society. What I noticed, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York in the 70s. It was not a very nice place. New York was a kind of tough town. Crime was very high. 1990s, I was walking around Times Square having coffee with people outside from around the world at 2 o'clock in the morning. When society wants to change, it can change. We had a forum recently in El Salvador, last month. 4 years ago, it was the most dangerous country in the world. Now it is the safest country in the Western Hemisphere in 4 years. When society wants to change, we can change. When good people want to change, we change the world. We spend so much time on dealing with this person and that person. We have to unite and say prosecutors, law enforcement, bankers, traders, all have to work together because we all want what's good. I didn't like being called, oh, you're doing something illegal. Well, prove it. I was never arrested, I never did anything illegal. If it's legal and moral and ethical, I'm going to do it. That's my job. I work at a bank right now. My job is to make money for the shareholders. Now, fortunately, my colleague Alex is here, who runs the anti-money laundering group. It's his job to make sure no bad money comes in. He's a pretty big guy. I don't think anybody wants to go over and tell him you're not doing your job. The guy works 14 hours a day to make sure that the bank is protected. Now, I ran AML and counterterrorism at Bank of America. We had thousands of people working endlessly, hours and hours, constantly being told that they weren't doing a good job. Now, that's not a good spot to be. You actually want to take people that are doing a good job, whether it's in law enforcement or my friend from the DA or other areas, and Juan, you know about this, it's like there's so many people doing a good job. Once in a while we have to sit back and say, wow, you're doing a good job, instead of saying everybody just sucks. This product sucks, people suck. No, it doesn't work like that. We have to motivate people. So one of the things I looked at, the estimates around the world, and all of my colleagues know this, they say it's $1 to $2 trillion a year of money being laundered. So if the global society says it's 1 to 2 trillion, that means it's $3 to $4 trillion a year. We all know that. We take good numbers and we make them higher, and we take bad numbers and we make them lower because it sells more newspapers. There's at least $3 trillion a year being laundered. And it's about 30% is the fee to launder money. Carlos Escobar was up to 90%. He was laundering so much money, it cost him 90 cents on a dollar to launder his last money. So we have to kind of look at this a little differently. In the United States, and I'm going to specifically, since we're in Washington, D.C. and America, I'm going to be a little bit harder on the United States, but I could do this for any country, I just choose not to. But in the United States, we have about 2 million people in prison right now. That's a lot of people. 20% are related to drugs. Okay, so that, in the United States, we arrest about 10,000, in the last 10 years, we arrested 10 million people were arrested for drugs. 10 million. Now, what's interesting, in the same time period, 10,000 people were arrested for money laundering. These are numbers that I looked up last night, so everybody go check these numbers. 10 million people for drugs, and a lot of these people should be in rehabs. They shouldn't be in prison, but they're in prison, right? That's my personal opinion. But 10,000 people are arrested for money laundering. Now, the other thing I want to mention about money laundering, we talk about these various assets and which is good, which is bad, and everything else. And I just looked this up just now. The Thomas Jefferson University did a study on U.S. dollar bills. 63% of U.S. dollar bills have drug residue on the bill. That's low compared to other numbers that I got. So Thomas Jefferson says it's 63%. Wikipedia says it's 90. So I don't like Wikipedia, so I'm not going to use that number. But they said it's 90%. Nobody's saying stop using the dollar. But they tell me I'm not allowed to bank on and off stable coin. I'm not allowed to bank crypto. I'm like, well, we use dollars all the time at the bank. Nobody's telling me, oh, don't do that. You know, it's like we fill out a form at over 10,000, that's okay. And, you know, like, there's rules and regulations. But, like, what we need to do is embrace these assets and teach people. And the good people of the world have to rally against the bad people. It's as simple as that. This goes back to Cain and Abel. So we need to just be more positive, be more creative. And when we look at this, we also have to look at it from a national security perspective. We have to look at it from a health perspective. We have to look at it so many different ways. But money laundering is a heinous crime. They say it's a white-collar crime. It's a heinous crime. Human trafficking, drugs, the worst of the worst. This is the worst of society. But we only arrest 1,000 people a year? That's insane. So again, we have to get these groups to stop. And I'm not saying any particular group is not doing well. But I do find that they say us capitalists are the problem. Well, I don't think so. If we capitalists go away and the banking system go away and the assets go away, there's nobody to move money around the world. Economies crash. So if you look at the world and what nations are light and which nations are dark, the nations that are dark are the ones that don't have good financial systems. They can't move money in and out, domestically or internationally. So we have to be really, really careful with that. One of the things also to be very careful about is, as policymakers, as we're trying to design rules and regulations to protect society, we continually do this. We have to start thinking differently. We can't make rules and regulations that have good intent but hurt the underbanked or hardworking middle-class people. It's harder and harder for working-class poor people to get a bank account because of the rules and regulations. It's really hard. Now, you know, when people say that's not possible, I have regulators come in on a regular basis and say X, Y, and Z, and why are you doing this, and why are you doing that? When somebody walks in with a deposit of $10 million and they have houses and cars and Rolls Royces, they never ask me that question. But it's also like, why did you open an account for this immigrant who's legal and he's working, but his address was wrong? Well, you get in trouble for that. So we have to kind of be looking at these things a little bit differently. So what I'm asking for is to look at the problem, but look at the solution differently. Let's not continually just talk about the problem. We could do whatever we wanted to do. And as a banker, as a trader, as a capitalist, I want you all to do a better job. Because I want to be legal, I want to be moral, and I want to be ethical. But also, like, you need to design rules and regulations that make it a fair game. One of the things In 1934, again, I'm focused on the United States. Although I work globally and I know this is a global forum, the things I'm saying are a little bit negative. That's why I don't want to say negative things about other countries in this room. However, in 1934 in the United States, there was 14,000 banks on average. It's like 14,300. The population has doubled, and plus a little bit more, and now we have 4,000 banks. So we used to have 14,000, population double, we now have 4,200 banks. So the problem is getting more condensed. So if you look at the 5 or 10 biggest banks in the world, who happen to get the biggest fines for money laundering, that means they laundered the most money. The big banks laundered the most money. I just want to mention that one more time. So when we go after all of the smaller banks that have 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people, and we beat them up, they go out of business. And that's from 14,000 to 4,000 scares me. As an individual, that's scary. Because if it comes down to 10 banks or 5 banks, that means they control all the money laundering. And I don't want that to happen. I want a free and fair society, and I want somebody to come into the United States. I want somebody from Brooklyn, from California, from LA, from Chicago to be able to open up a bank account with ease, because that's how they become part of the system. People said, oh, I don't like prepaid cards. Well, you know what? You can't get a hotel without a credit card. You can't rent a car without it. So we have to be inclusive in our thinking. So in closing, I just want to kind of get into the battle that goes on between business and regulators. It's a really tough battle because the regulators are looking at capitalists and bankers and traders in a negative way. So it's kind of like, so why did you do this? Why did you do that? What we need to do is design partnerships. If you really want to limit things, and we collectively want to reduce money laundering, who are your best partners? Probably community banks, probably small brokerage firms, probably people that are engaging with society at a smaller level. They're not laundering they're not wiring 20, 30 billion dollars a day. I mean, they know their clients. These are great partners. So what we need to do is design a methodology where the regulatory agents, the law enforcement, bankers, traders are working together to solve this problem and stop these barriers of each group trying to get the other group. So, you know, at the end of the day, we see 90% of people that are arrested for money laundering are convicted. Well, you know what? That's a really high success rate. A 90% close rate is unbelievable. Maybe we're not arresting enough people, because that's 90% conviction rate is astronomical. So either they flipped them or they did a deal or something, but like if we arrest people for crimes and we stop over-regulating society, I think we could actually do something together. So what I'm asking is to look at financial assets differently, look at people differently, look at banks differently, look at brokers differently. Your biggest partners in society, the people that are down in the field, I call it the first line of defense. The first line of defense is the young person opening up the account. The first line of defense is the simple, old-fashioned way of a human being saying, this doesn't make sense to me. Now, we all have advanced technologies, and fortunately last year I was able to talk about quantum AI. I could have that dialogue. What I'm asking to do is let's have a dialogue with our grandparents' mindset. Say, does this make sense? What we're doing does not make sense. So when you go back to your legislation body, be thinking about what could you do to help the problem that I've just outlined. Thank you.